So in the last video, we have seen what is testing, the typical objective of testing, why we are doing the testing, and what are the motivation behind the testing, and then we have seen the difference between testing and debugging. Now in this video, we will cover section 1.2, which is about why testing is necessary. So, rigorous testing of component or system and their associated documentation can help reduce the risk of failure occurring during operation. You are applying the testing techniques on the component level and on the system level and even on the documentation. If the requirements are ready, just do testing on it. Like as I told you, it's a static testing or review, you can say. We will see that it in detail chapter number 3. So just apply testing. We will also see in seven principles of testing that try to apply testing as soon as possible. So as soon as your requirements or your basic draft is ready, just review it, test it. When defects are detected and subsequently fixed, this contribute to the quality of the component or system. If you find there are some bugs in the requirement or even there is a bug in the component level of the code, you can fix it and the quality of your whole system will be improved. In addition, software testing may also be required to meet contractual or legal requirement or industry specific standard. As we have already seen in the last video, that testing is sometimes necessary to meet the legal requirement or standards which are defined in that company or for that particular product. You have to follow some IEEE standard or ISO quality standards. So testing is also necessary for that. Now, the testing's contribution to success. How the testing actually contributes to the success. So, throughout the history of computing, it is quite common for software and system to delivered into operation and due to presence of defect to subsequently cause failure or otherwise not meet the stakeholder need. It's possible that software you have developed it has some defects and not meeting the customer requirement. Maybe it has no defects in it, no bug in it, but still it is not fulfilling the customer requirement. It is of low quality. So, however, using appropriate test techniques can reduce the frequency of such problematic deliveries. If we have started the testing as early as possible, then maybe the quality of our software will be increased. When those techniques are applied with the appropriate level of test expertise in the appropriate test levels, and the appropriate points in the software development life cycle, like testing actually can help us if we know, for example, for the component level we are applying a different testing of technique of testing. For the integration testing we are applying a different technique. For the whole system we are applying a different technique, and we have some expertise from the previous projects. So as soon as you can start testing, it's good for the project. Now they are giving us some examples. Having tester involved in the requirement reviews or user story refinement. Like testers are involved as early as user stories there. User stories, what is user story? For example, a customer has come to you and asked you to develop a smartwatch which should be connected with the Bluetooth with my mobile phone. So it's a user, you can say it's a user requirement and you can make it user story. So as soon as you get the user story, you should involve the tester, high level tester or test manager, to see if this story is applicable or not. So maybe he will start designing some test cases in his mind and will tell you this requirement is correct or not. So he could detect defects in these work products. Like the first is as soon as possible, like on the requirement level, as soon as you got the requirement or user story, tester is involved. The identification and removal of requirement defect reduce the risk of incorrect or untestable features being developed. Like tester has a mindset set of testing. So maybe if sees this requirement, he tells that this requirement is not testable, so then this feature should not be developed as well. So you should start reviewing the documents or the user stories or the requirement software requirement specifications, SRS, as early as possible in the life cycle of any software. It will help you. So it was the requirement level. The next level is having tester work closely with the system designer. You got the requirements are ready, and now you are making the whole design of the system. That means, for example, you have a website, and then this website is you can say it's it's a commercial website on which you are selling some product. So maybe you have some 3 to 4 different modules. One is shopping cart, one is your product, one is user login, something like this. So you own the design level, like when you the system designer or the high level designer, he designs the whole system, and then it goes to the low level design where we work independently on the different modules. But on the system design level, tester should be involved while the system is being designed, can increase each party's understanding of the design and how to test it. If system designer is designing the system, on the same time maybe test manager or some senior member from the testing team will be involved, and like he will think in the mind, or he will discuss with a designer that I will test this whole system in that way. So from the early design of the system, he will have some knowledge. This increased understanding can reduce the risk of fundamental design. Maybe the system designer is designing a system which is not testable or which is not fulfilling the requirement. So a test manager can give him the feedback that your system is not testable. So maybe then he rethinks about his design and change it, and enable test to be identified at an early stage. So if the tester is involved as soon as possible in the life cycle, then uh, it will help to improve the product. So you should involve the tester in the requirement itself, then on the high level design, or sometime we call it as system design. Then we will come to the having tester work closely with the developer. Now we have come on the coding level or unit level, you can say. So they are also asking to involve the tester, uh, like when the code is developed, while the code is under development, can increase each party's understanding of the code and how to test it. If tester is involved with the developer as well, starting from the requirement, he was involved with the requirement, then the system design, now in the coding. Now he knows that the code is formulated in this way. Now he will think about the test cases. This increased understanding can reduce the risk of defects within the code and tests. Like we also have this test driven development, TDD. This we will see in future in upcoming lectures. So you have to involve tester at every phase of your project, starting from the requirement collection till the testing phase itself. Having tester verify and validate the software prior to release, now it is the final duty, which we called as the dynamic testing, or you can say executing of testing. All of these, you can say, they were a kind of static testing. We were only reviewing the design as a tester, we were reviewing the code, but here we are verifying and validating the software prior to release, can detect failures that might otherwise have been missed, and support the process of removing the defect that caused the failure. Now the code is ready and tester is testing the your code. Now he will give you the feedback that I have found these defects or bug or fault in the code, kindly remove it. So then developer will get the code, will debug it, will run it, and will fix the defects. This increases the likelihood that the software meets stakeholder needs and satisfy requirements. So tester has to verify and validate. Verify means the code is working properly, quality is high, quality is good, and it's fine. It's like there are no bugs. And validation mean either it is like there is no bug in the code, but still it is possible that code is not fulfilling the requirement of the customer. So you have to validate it that when it is on the customer side, it will meet the requirement of the stakeholder and customers. So this will also be done by the tester. So you see the importance of testing country to success of your software, starting from the requirement and till itself the testing, like review of the requirement, review of the system design, review of the code, and then testing. The main activity of the tester, actually the executing test cases, helps to improve the quality of your product. So in addition to these examples, the achievement of defined test objectives that we have already seen contribute to overall software development and maintenance success. When your software is ready, you have delivered it, then maybe in the future you need to maintain it. We will see this maintainability testing as well. You need to maintain it. So for that as well, if your testing is good, you have good test suites, good test procedures, it will help you in the future as well. Now we will come to the next in section 1.2. There is a subsection, quality assurance and testing. Just for your introduction, actually we have a big term which is called quality management. Quality management includes quality assurance and quality control. So these two terms comes under quality management. Quality management is the complete process, like my whole product is developed in a good fashion, it is of high quality. For example, in quality assurance, you can start from getting the requirements, and then you are designing your system, as we have seen system design, and then you are doing the code, you are writing the code, you are executing your test cases, and then you are fulfilling the requirement of the customer and getting some output from the customer. So quality assurance makes, like as assurance, makes sure that the whole process is as per the standard. And what about the quality control? Actually, quality control includes testing. It like a kind of, you are doing the testing and you are checking that your product is working in it or not. So actually you can say itself quality control is a subset of quality assurance. Now we will see, while people often use the term quality assurance or just QA to refer the testing, quality assurance and testing are not the same. Quality assurance and testing are different things. As I told you, quality assurance is the whole process, starting from the getting the requirement, development of code, testing the code and provide it to the customer. It contains everything in it, but they are related. At larger concept, quality management ties them together. As I told you, quality management actually, you can say it ties your quality assurance or your testing, like it both comes under the same definition. Quality management include all the activities that direct and control in an organization with regard to quality. So quality management, yet you are managing the quality. Among other activities, quality management include both quality assurance and quality control. Quality assurance and quality control. So quality assurance is typically focused on adherence to proper process. Like you in quality assurance, the department which is QA, they make sure that your process is going smoothly as per the standard in order to provide confidence that the appropriate level of quality will be achieved. When processes are carried out properly, the work product created by those processes are generally of higher quality. So quality assurance, whenever you are getting a requirement from the customer, quality assurance is there. When you are designing a system design or high level, tester should be involved. You are reviewing the design, you are reviewing the requirement, you are reviewing the code, everything. This whole process comes under quality assurance, which contribute to defect prevention. So if you are making this process smoothly under the team of QA, then you will make sure that on every level of your software development lifecycle, you have a good quality process. In addition, the use of root cause analysis, this we will see in upcoming topic, to detect and remove the causes of defect along with the proper application of the finding of the retrospective meeting to improve process are important for effective quality assurance. That, for example, if you find a bug, then you go to the root cause. Like for example, if you find a bug in the code, then maybe you will debug it and find the bug and remove it, but go to the root cause. Why a developer has coded in that way? Maybe you got the wrong requirement. So that is called root cause analysis. We will see this in upcoming section. So that was quality assurance, which makes sure process is smooth. Quality control involves both various activities, including test activities, support of the achievement of the appropriate level of quality. Like quality control is more about testing activities and the support of the achievement of appropriate level of quality. You test on different levels. Component quality is good, module quality is good, integration quality is good, system quality is good. Test activities are part of the overall software development or maintenance process. So, since quality assurance is concerned with the proper execution of the entire process, quality assurance support proper testing. So actually you can say that quality control is a subset of quality assurance. Quality assurance is a smooth or complete process, and inside quality assurance we have testing activities which is called quality control. So as described in section 1.1.1, 1.2.1, testing contribute to the achievement of quality in variety of ways. So just to summarize it, actually quality management contains both of quality assurance and quality control. So quality assurance is about the whole smooth process, starting from getting the requirement from the customer. Are they good? Just review them. Then high level design, design is good, review it on the same time. Then low level design, design is fine, review it. Then start the coding. Coding is good, yeah. Then start unit testing. We will see all of them in the upcoming chapters. Component testing, unit testing, for example, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing. So the whole process is going as per the quality standard. This is being done by quality assurance. And quality control include activities like testing activities, achievement of appropriate level of quality. So just remember these two terms. Now we will come to a term which is error, defects and failure. So what actually error is any human mistake, like any human can make mistake. For example, a product owner is getting requirement from the customer, but he understood the requirement in the wrong fashion. It will be an error, and this requirement will be given to the developer, who will code it, and will code it in a different way, in a wrong way, because requirement was wrong. Then tester will test it and give the feedback that there is a defect. So these are two terms. Like, first of all, we have error because of any human mistake. A human can make any mistake in calculation or whatsoever, getting the requirements. If it is coded, then there will be, you can say, we call it bug, as I told you, maybe defect or fault. Then when tester will test the code, it will, this bug or defect and fault, these all are same, could be in the code. When tester will test it, he will get a failure. He will note a failure, that system is not working properly. Then he will give it back to the developer. He will debug it and find the bug and fix it. So a person can make an error. Any person, being a human being, we can make an error which can lead to the introduction of defect, fault or bug. These all are same. You made a mistake, because of that you have done coding in a wrong way, that created a defect, fault or bug in the software code or in some other work related product. It is not like it is only in the code. For example, your business product owner has understood in a wrong way what was customer giving him the requirement, so he noted down the requirement, so requirement is wrong. There is a defect or bug in the requirement. Maybe developer was, when he was understanding the requirement, he understood in a wrong way, he will make a defect or bug in the code. So it could be anywhere, in any work product, either software requirements or code itself. Defect or bug can be anywhere, but the cause of the defect or bug normally is human error or mistake. An error that leads to the introduction of a defect in one work product can trigger that an error that lead to the introduction of a defect in a related work product. As I told you, that product owner got wrong requirement. Then if requirement is wrong, then it will be replicated to the code. Developer is developing the code based on wrong requirement. Then this actually this uh, because of mistake or error of your product owner, you got wrong requirement, and it will create a bug or defect in the requirement, which will be replicated to the code as well. Wrong code or wrong requirement or bug in the requirement will automatically create a bug in the code as well. They are saying it, one product can trigger an error that leads to the introduction of defect in the other work related product. For example, a requirement elicitation error can lead to the requirement defect. If you have, your requirement is not clear, you have a requirement defect, which then results in a programming error that lead to a defect in the code. So there are like replica. If a defect in the code is executed, it may cause a failure. So there was a human error, either by the developer, either by the requirement or business product owner. An error because of error, when it is it is noted down in the work product, it will be a defect or bug. For example, as I told you, this bug could be in your software requirement, this could be in your software, in your code, anywhere, and in any work product. Then this may cause a failure, but not necessarily in all circumstances. May be possible that there is a bug in the code, but sometimes you need some specific conditions to trigger that bug. There is a bug in the code, but when you are testing as per your test data, and this bug is not like you cannot recognize the bug, but there is a bug in the code. So maybe all of the bugs like never leads to the failure. For example, some defects require very specific inputs or preconditions to trigger a failure, which may occur rarely or never. But the main thing is that maybe there are some bugs in the code which will never go to a failure, but just remember the things. The basic term is human error or mistake. Because of that, we could have bug, defect, or fault in the code or in any work product, in the requirement or in the code, and when it is executed, it will lead to a failure of your work product. So what could be the cause of errors? Human mistake. There could be many reasons: time pressure, human fallibility, like human is prone to errors, human can make errors, so this is also possible. Inexperience or insufficiently skilled project participant, your team is not that good. Miscommunication between project participants, including miscommunication about requirement and design. For example, there was not a good communication between the system designer and the coder, or between the product owner and the system designer. So requirements are being wrong written due to the error or a human mistake, and then it will lead to a defect. So even the complexity of the code design and architecture underlying problem to solve, or technology, which maybe technology is the new, that can also, you need to understand the new technology, but like you need some time. The architecture is a bit complex, so maybe you will make some error which will create the defect or fault or bug. Misunderstanding about intra-system and inter-system interfaces, especially when such intra-system and inter-system interaction are large in number. Maybe you are not able to understand the system integration. You are not able to understand exactly how the system are interacting, so you can misinterpret it, and you make some error in the integration of the system that will lead to a defect. Even new or unfamiliar technologies, maybe you have worked with some like some microcontroller which was of 16-bit, and now you are working on 32-bit, and the clock behavior is totally different in both of them. So some new technologies can also lead to this error, defect or failure. In addition to failures caused due to defect in the code, failure can also be caused by environmental conditions. Maybe your code is working at your workplace, but when it is going outside in the environment, it is not feasible to work in more than 40 degrees centigrade. So system is dead. For example, radiation, electromagnetic fields and pollution can cause defects in firmware or influence the execution of software by changing hardware conditions. It's quite possible that you have tested your software, it was working perfectly fine, but then what happened when it went to the customer side or in the environment itself? So it creates some failures which was not in the code, not even in the requirement. That defect was not there anywhere, but it came due to the problem of your system, you can say, or um, of the environmental conditions. It's quite possible. So then, not all expected test results are failure. Unexpected, maybe you are getting some unexpected test result, but they are not failure. There are two terms, one is false positive and the other one is false negative. I will explain you, this term is bit tricky to understand, but I will try to make it as easy as possible. False positive means you find some failure and you told developer that there is a bug or defect or fault in the code. Fault positive, like positive mean there is something present. So you found a failure. You reported to the developer, but he told that man, there is no such bug in the code, I have tested it. So it is called false positive. There are different possibilities. For example, you are testing a system which is based on internet, your VLAN, and during the testing your VLAN connection is disconnected or something like happened, and then you found that this system is not working. There is some problem, it is not taking data from the database, for example. You found this bug, and you found this failure actually, and reported the developer that there is a bug. He again try to find, debug it and try to find the fault or the defect or bug, whatever you want to say, but he came to know that there is no bug. He reported it back to you, to as a tester, and told you that it is working fine at my place. Then you came to know, maybe my internet connection was not that good during that time, so I found a failure. So it was positive, you found it, but it was not actually there. Then there is a term false negative. It is opposite of that. False negative mean nothing. So you haven't found any bug, but in the code actually there was a bug, and then you came to know, there was a bug. But actually at that time, maybe as I told you, that some of the bugs need very specific triggering data, or very specific you can say some conditions on which only like they provide that behavior, which is a failure. But during your testing you don't have that test case, or and you came to know that there is no problem in the code, and you haven't found any, you can say, failure or bug or defect. Now uh, there was no failure, so no defect, no fault or bug in the code. But actually there was uh, for example, there was a problem in the code, but you never came to know about this. So I can give you an example, like maybe in your login system, I would say your password is not accepted when you have, for example, two sign of exclamation in the end, but you never came to know about uh, this bug in the code. But when the test user anytime came to know about this, then maybe this could be a fault. For example, I will give you another example. Your ticketing system, whenever you have developed a online booking system, and whenever you book, for example, 50 tickets together, your system will crash. But it's a very specific or triggering data. Normally whenever we are planning for a trip, we normally book 5 to maximum. If you are family, you have a big family, you can book to 10 to 12 air tickets. But maybe your system has a bug in it. If you book 50 tickets, system will crash. But you never came across this problem, you have never booked 50 tickets together, so you have never found anything, any bug in the code. That is false negative. But there was a bug. So not all unexpected test results are failure. False positive may occur due to error in the way tests were executed, or due to defect in test data, test environment, or other tests were for other reasons. So false positive, you found a bug, but there was no bug. The inverse situation can also occur, where similar errors or defect lead to false negative. False negative are tests that do not detect that they should have detected. False negative are those test cases which have never detected the bug in the code. Actually, there was a bug in the code, but they never came to know. False positive are reported as defect, but they are not actually defect. And false negative are never reported as a defect or bug, but there is a defect in the code. So now the last topic of section 1.2 is defect, root cause, and effect. So I will give you a short summary. Due to human error or mistake, uh, there there is some bug or defect or fault in your work product code or requirement. Because of that, there is a failure, and when it fails, you will get a feedback from the customer. Oh, it's not working. It is called effect, feedback from the customer. So uh, you should go to the root cause. Actually, like, what is the root cause? Here we will see that by only removing the defect or by only removing the bug, it's not feasible. You should go to the root cause. Just remove this root cause, work on that, so that in future you don't have the same problem. So the root causes of the defect are the earliest action or condition that contributed to creating the defects. uh, Defects can be analyzed to identify the root causes. Like, you have a defect, now you know, but the good thing is go like a step behind. Why this defect was created? What was the reason? Was there a misunderstanding of the product, of the requirement? What was that? That is called root cause. So as to reduce the occurrence of the similar defect in the future. If you go to the root cause, now you will come to know the problem. By focusing on the most significant root causes, root cause analysis can lead to the process improvement that prevent a significant number of future defects from being introduced. Let's say there is an example. For example, suppose incorrect interest payment. There was a banking system in which you have to calculate the interest, and incorrect, there was the calculation in the code. Due to single line of incorrect code, the calculation of interest was wrong, and you got a reply from the customer complaint, which is also called defect, that hey, the system is not calculating the interest as it should calculate. The interest rate is not working in the same way. The defective code was written for a user story which was ambiguous due to the product owner misunderstanding of how to calculate the interest. I think now you will come to know. For example, from the product owner, you got a requirement that you have to calculate the interest, and there are different type of interest: compound interest and single interest. I am not an economist, but like, normally the business student read about this. So product owner had no idea about the interest calculation. He simply asked the developer to develop a code, calculate the interest rate, and developer googled the formula and implemented this. But this interest rate was different in different conditions. For example, if this this money is in bank account since last 5 years, so this interest will be different, and if it is since 10 years, interest will be different. But this developer got a wrong requirement from product owner. He asked him to simply calculate the interest, and then he calculated it, he implemented the formula, but actually that was a bug. And when it went to the tester, he tested the data, and then he said that yeah, it's working fine. But when it was working in the user area, user premises, or in the bank, it was calculating wrong interest. Then we thought, what happened? We went to the bug, we came to know in the code developer has implemented wrong formula. But still that was not the root cause. Root cause was the less awareness of the product owner about the topic of interest rate. So if a large percentage of defect exist in the interest calculation, and these defects have their root cause in the similar understanding, the product owner could be trained in the topic of interest calculation to reduce such defect in the failure in the future. So root cause is going to the root cause, as the term says, going to the root cause, the main problem, why actually this problem happened. So like you emphasize on that, and you go to the maybe there was a problem in the user story. Like I can give you some more examples as well if you want, but I think this example should be enough. A user story this could be another way, like only bug in the code or bug in the work product is not an example. Like the bug was started from here, it was actually just go one step behind and see what was the problem with the product owner, why was he not good to know about the interest calculations. Then you can provide the training. And for example, sometime your product owner is not good with that particular product, so you have to provide him training. In this example, the customer complaints are effect, like you got a reply from the customer, hey, your product is not calculating interest as it should, so it is the effect. The incorrect interest payments are failure. Failure is like your system is not working, it's failure, and because of failure you get normal effect from the or feedback from the customer. The improper calculation in the code is a defect, bug, or fault, and it resulted from the original defect, the ambiguity in the user story. User story was not clear. The root cause of the original defect was a lack of knowledge on the part of product owner, which resulted in the product owner of making an error while writing user story. So product owner has written a wrong user story, and then based on that it was a root cause. Based on that there was a bug in the code, it developed in a wrong way, and then there was a failure and defect from the customer. The process of root cause analysis is discussed in there is the advanced level of ISTQB, so we don't need to go that deep in it. But this was everything for this video, topic number 1.2. Now in the next video we will go to topic number 1.3. Till then, take care.